Alright guys, welcome back. So this is another clip from a previous live stream. I believe it was not yesterday, the day before. Yeah, Friday. Sounds about right. So we was talking about basically the future of WoW, Ashes, New World, just everything as an MMO. But really, the topic started off as should you invest $500 in Ashes of Creation? Because it's a lot of money, you know, $500 to play a game that might never come out. You know, who knows? It is a big investment. And then it sort of went on to the future of WoW, Final Fantasy XIV. We touch on quite a lot, but I thought it was quite a good conversation and one you might want to hear. The only place here on YouTube you can catch me live streaming is SJ Gaming Live. So links in the description below and I'll put a card up the top. Make sure you go over and subscribe because, as I say, I never stream on this channel because I like to keep the sort of content a little bit separate. And that's mainly so you guys who just want to see edited content don't get spammed every time I go live and things like that. So if you want to see me live stream, check out SJ Gaming Live. New World comes out on Tuesday, which I'm mega excited for, and I'm going to be absolutely smashing it all week. Actually, I believe I'm even doing a subathon, which I'll be announcing on Discord, YouTube, all of that sort of thing, ready for Tuesday, so you can come and get involved. So let me know what you think in the comments. I keep getting DMs on Discord. And I think there's a few videos out. I think even Reds has done one, to be fair, about whether Ashes of Creation is worth spending $500 on. And I thought it would be easier to talk about why you should or shouldn't spend $500 on Ashes here, so I can clip it, and anyone who asks, I can just send them this clip. Because, yeah, literally, I've been typing out stories on Discord every day, just saying to people basically the same thing. Because if you're going to spend $500 on a game that you've got to remember might not even ever come out, you need to be damn sure that you want to, you know, it's not about playing the game, it's about investing into the game to make it better. You know, that's literally all it comes down to. If you're going to spend $500 on Ashes, you shouldn't look at it as that you're not buying a game, you're investing into the game to hope that one day it comes out. But I mean, how many alphas and betas have we seen that they just never actually release? Between spending $500 on Ashes or like $40 on New World, I think is a bit of a no-brainer. Even if you look at New World and don't think that it looks particularly good, just purely because, well, you're going to get to play it Tuesday, like in 4 days, and it's a pretty polished game. I mean, Ashes, you've got a possibility of 32 different classes, yet you can't even get more than 3. Well, you can't get classes. Obviously, they're classed as archetypes, the main 8, and you can only get to 15 on Mage, Cleric, Tank. There's just, you know, if you were to spend $500, realistically, how much content you're going to get out of it is maybe, depending on how hard you go, 5-6 days, I would say, with what there is at the moment. And I genuinely thought it was going to sort of surprise us. That's why I've not been on it. Obviously, I could log on Ashes now instead of going and doing Alcatraz Heroic once I finish my rant. But, you know, what am I going to do that I haven't already done? I've played all 3 classes, used all the abilities that are available, and run out of quests. So there's, you know, there's very little to do that's going to, where I'm going to learn anything new, unless you're absolutely loaded and you're like, well, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I burn $500 for fun. Then by all means, you know, pay $500, invest in the game, because, you know, it does at least start giving the game more security, you know, that we will actually get a launch. But that's been my thinking recently, is when you look at the amount of games that they just get delayed and delayed and delayed and then they never come out. I'm hoping Ashes don't go down that route, and I don't think it will. I genuinely think it will be a full release in a couple of years' time, but again, it's a couple of years' time. I think there's more options for games out there, even if it is Final Fantasy XIV. You know, as I say, it's not for me, but there's so many people that seem to enjoy it. I almost want to force myself to play it. But I think New World is going to absolutely smash it. Seriously, I think. I'm not going to say it's going to be the nail in WoW's coffin, but if Amazon play it right, it could be close. I mean, I don't know if you have seen, but there's been so many videos over the last 3 or 4 days about World of Warcraft potentially being dead very, very soon. I don't believe it, personally, you know, because, yeah, it's always more negative on YouTube than it actually is. But I think they're going to struggle. And I think the longer they hold out on Phase 2, the more they're going to struggle. And I don't even think 9.1's been particularly well received from what I've read. Again, I could be wrong. I don't really look much at retail anymore. I don't really care. But I do genuinely think we could see a bit of a downward trend with WoW at the moment, to the point where, for any of you who have spoke to me for a long time, you know I'm a massive Wrath of the Lich King fanboy. If it carries on how it is, I don't think we'll see Wrath Classic, honestly. I think the game, with all these titles that are coming out, and with the traction that Final Fantasy's got, the fact that it's getting a new expansion, or Guild Wars 2 is going to be getting a new expansion, but that's not till next year now. There's so much competition for them that it's not the time. Now's not the time to be losing ground, and that's what they've been doing. They've been losing ground over the last, 2 years probably, realistically. But now there's so much competition that it's not the time. It's not the time to lose ground, because you've got to remember, from an investors and that perspective, they must be just looking at the bottom line and just seeing the major decline in their revenue stream from subscriptions specifically, and probably in-game transactions as well. As in cash shop stuff from retail. And they're probably worrying. And what are they going to do first? Obviously operational expense is always the most expensive for any business, and it's always the first to get hit. So they'll start cutting back. They'll start cutting back on devs, start cutting back on designers, on whatever. So it will, because they'll see it as a save. The board, they will see, oh well, if we cut this person, that's 32 grand, 40 grand, 50 grand, whatever they get paid, that they save a year. So they'll equate that to X amount of subscribers that have been lost. That'll count as some of that. But then what they won't see is the knock-on effect from what you'll lose down the line in the future, because now you're 1, 2, 10, 20 people down in your team, so you can't produce content as quick as you would have if you had those people. Loud old motorbike going past. That's where it's going to be sticky, personally. I think if you get many still enjoy the game, that the game is slower. People may enjoy it, but not enough people do. That's the problem. As I say, you'll have people playing the game, and they'll keep. I'm not saying the servers are going to shut down or anything like that, but the population will shrink. And I reckon the population across retail and classic will shrink by 30% in the next 3 months. I reckon they'll steadily lose 10% over the next 3 months, and a lot of that, don't get me wrong, I think New World, if it lands well, will play a big part of that. I think the fact that Asmongold's playing more Final Fantasy than WoW nowadays, I think that's going to play a part. The influences, Bellular, Asmongold, both of those, hyping up Final Fantasy. People will start jumping ship, going over there, cancelling their subscription. I can see the trend already happening. But it's not, as I say, it's not something that bothers me, because I'll be playing WoW Classic quite literally until there is no more content. As in, I will play Wrath, I'll play Kata, I'll play Mop. I literally would go through all of them up until Warlords of Draenor. That's as far as I would go personally. But so they'll be keeping my sub pretty much for forever. But there just is other games out there at the moment, and I think some of these other games that are out there are looking very promising. I don't know how much you've looked at New World, but New World is looking phenomenal. I'm still, I'm not going to go back on what I said the other night. It's still, the combat system worries me a lot. I know people are saying, like, Encounter to me complaining about the combat system is that it's more skill based, blah 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 blah. I don't know about that. It reminds me a bit, really, of Destiny, which I know is a shooter. It's slightly different, but just that sort of, it was an MMO type game. I don't know. It just reminds me a little bit of Destiny. Yeah, the UI is defo Destiny like. Yeah, TT. It could just be the UI that reminds me of it. Castle control system in it. I haven't heard anything about that part of the game in years. I don't think so. They took a lot of emphasis away from PvP, didn't they? It's still got like the faction battles, like town control, town sieges and stuff like that. I don't know about castles. One of the cities might have a castle. I don't know. But I know there is like big planned. So it's not, imagine your Horde versus Alliance, and your guild plans a 40-man raid to go into Stormwind. It's not quite like that. It is like that, but it's planned. You know, so you sign up and you know that it's happening at 2 o'clock on Saturday or whatever. So it's at least a bit more controlled. Probably so they get maximum attendance. Because if it was just to happen on the fly, or it was to go right 15 minutes and it's going on, you know, you just might be balls deep in a dungeon that you've been progressing through for a couple of hours or whatever. But that's the bit that I'm really interested in, is the PvE. Like the PvP, I don't do that much PvP in WoW, but New World, I'll be going quite hard PvP wise. Me and the guys that are leveling together have already said, you know, red is dead. Just basically, we'll just open on anyone, no matter what, you know, 1 person or 10 people. Just go for it. And I mean, even that, you know, it's just something a bit different. You know, normally you have 2, don't you? You know, you have Horde and Alliance, dark side, light side. I don't know, but yeah, there's normally 2. There's normally a good side and a bad side, or you know. Through someone's eyes, the good is always think they're good, the bad is always think they're good. You know, that's just how it goes. But I think having 3 really does spice it up a bit as well. I've never played an MMO where it's got 3, or I don't remember playing an MMO where there's more than 2 factions actually fighting against each other. I mean, it could potentially make those sort of out in the world PvP. Think phase 1. Think phase 1 of Classic. And think how bad Blackrock Mountain was, you know, or just around the flight paths, like in Fellwood was one that I remember being quite heavily camped. The flight path, well, at Searing Gorge. You know, that Horde versus Alliance is bad enough. Imagine having 3 factions in these prime locations for PvP. I mean, that's going to be quite fun. Cheers, Tonks. I'm back in the bar, only for 5-10 minutes, mate, and then I'm going next door to do Alcatraz Heroic, if you're going to do it. SO has 3. I've not played Elder Scrolls for years. As I say, I have played it, so then I have played a game that's got more than 2 factions. Backpedal, I think it's not lock-on target. I think the only lock-on target is for healers, isn't it? So again, I thought that was quite interesting. So the way you heal, you use your mouse wheel, apparently, to scroll through the targets. So you don't physically click on them and target them. But when you've got a life staff, you use the scroll wheel to switch between different targets. I mean, it's gonna feel really awkward, I reckon, to get used to, going from like, oh my god, someone's about to die, and then clicking on them, to now, oh, someone's about to die. Let me just quickly scroll through and find the right one, and then cast my heal. You know, but I'd imagine in an action-based game like that, I don't know, but I'd imagine there's a lot of smart hills or ground AoE hills or hills that jump about. There's got to be a bit more than just like flash of light spam or whatever, you know. Yeah, I think overall it's all gonna require a decent amount of skill, to be fair.